Hello, everybody. It's Keito here, and in this week's episode, we have the phenomenal Victoria Smurfit. Victoria, how are you?
I'm great. Can I call myself Vico then? Can
Vico,
I
yeah,
go Vico? If you're keto, can I be Vico?
it can be Vico. Have you ever been called Vico before?
No, I haven't been called an awful lot of stuff, none of which is good enough to be described not in a darkened room. But yeah, no, not Vico. So first one for me.
All right, well, Vico, it is. So, listen, look, we're all over the world. We're in various kind of lockdowns. Where are you right now, and what's life like for you?
I'm in Notting Hill in London. The sun is shining, which is fantastic. Life is like everybody else in lockdown, a series of detalling your groceries and persuading your children to get back to online school.
Well, hang on now. That this is an ongoing discussion in my house, so now you've hit on something straight away I want to talk about. Do you
Boom!
do you still sanitize the groceries and use the various sanitizers on that and clean it down when it comes in, or what do you do?
It depends on how psycho I am during the day. Generally speaking, I'm too knackered to do it, and I figure it's all going in the oven anyway to the ground. But no, I sort of feel this is not scientific or medically advised, but
Yeah,
somewhere in the back of my brain, I think I spent most of the 70s and 80s eating worms from the ground. I've got to have some kind of immunity. Obviously, not to a virulent virus strain such as
yeah.
COVID, but no, I think I've slid off the detalling the fish fingers stage. I
Well,
have
look,
to admit.
listen, in this brain hacker series, we tend to go off on tangents all the time, and
Good.
so you just gave me food for thought there. I thought about it earlier today, and I haven't really discussed it with anybody yet. But I'm wondering, what are the young kids going to be like later on in life with their immune systems? In other words, they're sanitizing all of the time. Nobody's getting the flu. Nobody's getting a cold. So I'm just wondering in my headspace, like, what are their immune systems going to be like down the line? Like, if they get something just as small as perhaps a cold or maybe a flu that they would ordinarily have fought off, I'm wondering, is this going to have a detrimental effect on their immune systems? And I haven't heard anybody talk about that before.
Well, I don't know. It is very strange. I mean, what keeps me happy is the fact that my teen son does not like to wash. So I think that that will probably protect him. And so, but I don't know. Maybe we have to serve them a side of mud and worms with their dinner just to protect them. Or every now and again say, "I clean the floor, so go and lick it, and you'll be fine."
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. At least inside their own house.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the knock-on effect of this for everybody's PTSD of seeing people and doing things in a room is going to be really odd. I reckon there's two ways we're going to go, Keith. We're either going to go, oh no, I don't, I'm a waver, I don't shake hands, or you're going to find people grinding against your leg as a hello. And you know, there's sort of two ways we're going to
Uh,
go in terms of how we function. You know,
well, look,
I don't know.
I'm on the grinder side because look, I'm a tactile person now. I'm not.
Me too.
I'm not in an LA kind of sense. So look, I've spent a lot of time in LA. I know you spent a lot of time in LA. I never really got into the whole, the whole huggy thing on the first meet. Do you know what I mean? I never really got that. But with people I really care for, I am a very tactile person. I like to
Yeah.
have hugs. So yeah, when we come out of this, I'll definitely be hugging everybody that I know that I care about. You know.
Oh, 1,000%. It's just going to be a sea of bodies squishing each other out of desperation.
Well, listen, for me, look, like yourself, I travel sometimes every week in a year. I could be on a plane, and I know you're very similar. Do you miss traveling?
I do. You know what? I really miss that moment where the plane door opens and you smell a different smell. And you get that, like, either that heat or the dust or the cold, and your nose is burned from cold, or just something different, which sounds very, you know, I feel very, very lucky to have been able to do that. And I think sort of one of the amazing things about this crazy ass time is that you can plot those moments in your life of gratitude, as you'd say in LA. And it is, but you know, sincerely, you kind of now to, you know, if I get a day where the postman stops to talk to me from the gate, I'm like, that was so nice. And so, you know, it's just, God, I love my postie. He's great.
Well,
But
hang on now. I have to stop you there for a second because I'm interested in this. The way you said gratitude, but actually, I practice gratitude every day as kind of a mind technique for myself. So, do you as well?
absolutely.
I'm going to guess that you do, but you kind of said it in a kind of quirky way there.
Well, I think because I've sort of been through sort of nearly 10 years of LA and where you meet, I have friends who are vegans who are gratitude all week and they're vegans and they're in touch with everything. It's all kombucha. And then come Friday, they're taking ketamine and sleeping with their Uber driver. So it's a very
Yeah.
confusing dynamic. So I suppose in a way my gratitude was that kind of ilk. But no, I genuinely do. I believe very much in clocking the moments of joy, because if not, I really hit a kind of a low part in the middle of the second lockdown, and I don't tend to get very low. I get angry, but I don't tend to get low. And so it was an unusual thing for me. And in order to get out of that, because you're still functioning with children and dogs and what have you,
Yep.
I just kept on going. I'm just going to clock all the stuff I'm grateful for. The sun is in the sky. The rain is super wet. I really love the carpet under my feet. And I'm so grateful there's water coming out of my taps. And oh God, look, there's food in the fridge. And, whatever it is that I just went, just focus on that and you'll be all right. And it does actually back you out of it.
Well,
Are we in therapy right now? Are we in therapy?
well, we are.
Do I need to cry? Can I
Don't
cry?
cry. Please don't cry. Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you one thing. You've got a great color on you for starters. So what's going on over there? Are you out in the sunbeds every single day, out in the sunshine, or what's going on with that tan?
Well, it's either two things. It's either liver damage and I've gone yellow, or no, I'm just back from South Africa. I was
Oh,
filming
wow.
out there. I was doing a guest star spot on a TV show, so that was super, super great. And being the typical Paddy, it's too hot for our skin. You know that you put on the factor 50 and you go, I got the factor 50 on. Isn't there a lovely breeze? And totally forget there's no ozone layer there. So it just got mashed at day one, which was awkward as it was a period drama I was doing. So I gave the makeup department a real challenge to try and take down the glowing lobster color that I had.
Well, it looks good now. It's turned into a lovely tan now, I can tell you. So it looks good on
I
you.
I can tell you the makeup department wouldn't care less that I'm brown now. They only cared that I was pink when I turned up for work.
So here's the thing for you, right? So talk of travel. I've got a suitcase here and it's never been used. Brand new suitcase, bought it a year ago and it's never been used. So I've got a brand new luggage tag here as well. I'm going to take off the luggage tag, okay? Like so. I'm going to hang the luggage tag there just like that so it remains in full view. So here's the thing, right? For fun, we're going to try reverse mind reading right now, if you like, because, very often people are interested in me trying to get inside their heads. I thought I'd let Victoria Smurfit, Vico Smurfit, enter into my head. So
Okay.
if you were to send me on holidays with a celebrity, any celebrity you want in the world, who would you send me on holidays with right now?
I would send you on holidays with Kat from EastEnders. I'd send you to Greece. I don't know why.
Randomly, so Kat from EastEnders, and you send me to Greece. My God, I haven't watched EastEnders in years, but that kind of gave me it kind of gave me a bit of a shiver there for a second. So Kat from EastEnders, you send me to Greece. Okay, if you were to imagine that we knew Kat's telephone number and that I had Kat's telephone number in my telephone, and you were to see what that telephone number would be, what would you think the last three digits are? Just the last three digits.
167.
167. Now, listen, people aren't going to believe this, but we didn't set anything up in advance, and you had no idea I was going to enter into this experiment.
No.
When was the last time, by the way, you thought of Kat from EastEnders yourself?
Like never.
Okay, look, check this out. Inside here, about 2 hours ago, I wrote something down, I laminated it, and I put it inside here. And I want you to read out loud exactly what it says.
No! You're joking me. You're joking me. You're actually kidding.
EastEnders, and that's laminated.
And that's laminated, and that's 167, and it's Greece. That's absolutely, totally freaky.
I've got a bit of a thing for Kat. I've got a bit of a thing for Kat.
But I genuinely haven't thought about Kat from EastEnders because since my first child was born, because I think she had a child at the same time, and I was reading all the chat mags.
I know, it's wild, isn't it?
But did you lay that in somewhere in my head? You didn't. You haven't said the word cat or Greece or any. We haven't just.
Don't even think about it. Because if you think about it, it's like bubble gum for the brain.
That's bizarre. Oh my God.
So let's loop back for a second to, we were talking about gratitude a few minutes ago. Do you practice your own form of mindfulness like I do? So every day, like for example, I perform some breath work on myself. I creatively visualize every day and have a freezing cold shower every day. And I think everybody kind of needs something. So I'm just interested in, do you have a couple of tools that you use on a daily basis to keep your mindset straight?
When I wake up in the morning, I will hit snooze and I will just lie there for I think it's 9 minutes that Apple give you on your snooze. And I'll lie there for 9 minutes and I'll think through my day and I'll imagine something lovely happening. And I don't care whether that lovely is, oh, look, my chicken pie didn't burn, or whether my lovely is someone I haven't heard from in a long time has called. And I'll just think, I'll thought through my day and it makes me calm when I get in. And I do also turn the shower to cold after I've had a hot shower, just to kick me into the day.
I think people need to realize there's actually a science behind it. I mean, I don't know if you've looked into the science behind it yourself, but it actually dumps dopamine, serotonin, and adrenaline into your system first thing in the day. So like you said, it gives you that boom factor just to set yourself on the right path. And look, I've spent a lot of time in LA and I know the happy clappers, right? So you know them, I know them. And I think it's interesting that you mentioned them because there's a certain element of fakery out there when it comes to mindfulness. I think you have to find your own way that works for you and then understand that every day isn't going to be happy clapping. You're not going to be positive all day, every day. But if you do prime yourself in certain ways, so for example, your way, hitting the snooze button, seeing your day ahead for that 9 minutes, then taking that small cold shower, you're more likely to have a positive day. And that's what people need to understand, that if you set up these strategies for yourself, you are more inclined that to have more positive days than negative days. You're more inclined that to jump out of the bed and go after the day, whatever your goals and dreams are and aspirations are. So I think it's interesting that you do something similar. So listen, tell me this. Is there anything during this last year that you've kind of started doing that you wouldn't ordinarily do, or something that a habit that you've dropped? Like, in other words, like for me, I was drinking too much for sure early last year, probably even late last year. I was eating too much. I kind of ballooned up quite a bit. I've managed to lose the weight now. So, but is there anything that you found you were doing too much of or too little of, or how did it affect you?
Well, I was actually the opposite. So I was probably racing at such a rate of knots that I didn't eat enough. And I didn't ever really get hungry and I didn't think about it, and actually lost a ton of weight and was very kind of up to high 90. So I've slowed down a bit, and I'm kind of more methodical about what I'm doing. And if I don't get 1,000 things done, I'm like, no biggie. Whereas before I'd berate myself constantly, whereas there's a certain kind of air out of the balloon that's actually working for a happier Smurf than the constant just go, 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 which is really nice because I sort of exist in now more.
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, actually, because I'm very similar. So I'm like, go, 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 go. I have no problem at all working 18 hours a day, and I've consistently kind of done that for 20 years. So, I have the energy for it, I have the mindset for it. But what I've done is very similar. I've made a very conscious choice that if I don't have a gig at the weekend, in other words, a virtual gig, I'll actually just take the weekend clean off with the family. And that's something I wouldn't have done before. I wouldn't have just consciously made that effort. And then during the week, make sure that if the weather is nice, even if I have so many things to do, I'll just stop and just take that hour off and not beat myself up about the fact that I should have been in working. Because at the end of the day, I've been very conscious about the fact of spending time with my family for a long time now, but I still think we have to remind ourselves to do that. So speaking of family, I know that you've spoken very eloquently about the problems that Evie has had in the past with her eyesight, and maybe you tell us how she's doing and where that's all going for you guys.
She's great. Like in herself, she's great. As much as any teenage girl could be great in lockdown, because really should be out there going to discos and having a great old time. But the toughest thing I think, I know, is the fact that she's got a certain amount of time to see things, and a lot of it right now is stuck with the same four walls. So we're constantly kind of finding projects and exciting things to think about, carrots for when we come out of this mad time in our lives. And because I think that's really important, because she's aware of a ticking clock, as it were.
Yeah. And when you say ticking clock, for people who don't know, is it, am I pronouncing it right? Is it macular dystrophy that she has?
Yeah. It's called Stargardt's macular dystrophy, and it's where you lose your central vision because your retinal cells are blowing out, and um, yeah. So she's we nobody knows how long the piece of string is, but there's a certain trajectory, and we're sort of fighting that. So I'll borrow your suitcase if I can when we're allowed to get out, because she needs to go and see the flowers in Amsterdam and even the red light district. We might take a brownie. Who knows? Like, whatever.
I love that. Red light district. Listen, I'm all about it. But more importantly, where can people find out a little bit of information about? Are you involved with a charity with macular
Yeah.
dystrophy? Is there something that people
Um,
help with?
We do. She's actually an ambassador for Fighting Blindness, and on fightingblindness.ie. And if anybody has a couple of quid they want to donate, a lot of it, they're very patient orientated as well as research focused. So they're a really good hands-on human connected resource for anybody with any kind of sight loss.
Great. Okay, so if people can find out more information and perhaps if they've got a few quid to spare, be sure to support the cause. Now, before we finish up, what weird food or unusual food do you eat that most people would find weird or unusual?
Okay, well, I really love white bread, butter, marmalade, sausages, marmalade, butter, white bread, squish in.
What?
And if
I,
you ever get in trouble with me, Keith, though, and I'm going to tear a strip off you, you hand me one of those, all bets are off.
how did you discover this though? Did you just sit down one day and create this monster, or did somebody encourage you
No,
to try it?
no, do you know what I think it was? It was boarding school when I was little and trying to make things taste of stuff. And so marmalade went on everything. And yeah, so that is my heavenly go to.
Wow. Okay, so what is the weirdest or strangest coincidence that's ever happened to you?
The weirdest, strangest coincidence.
Something that perhaps you might have deemed superstitious.
Oh, my dead granny came to visit me.
Oh, well, there we go. So when did she come to visit you? How long ago was this?
This was a good amount of time ago. This was when I was still at drama school, and I walked into I've never told the story. I walked into a church hall that we were performing in because we were doing the Jungle Book, and we were all knackered. And I walked into this place in Yeovil or somewhere, and I'd never been there before. And I just spun out as I walked in. And one of my friends said to me, "You all right, Vic?" And I said, "Yeah. I'm gonna go backstage. Just behind the stage, two doors down on the left is a room with yellow cushions and yellow curtains. I'm just gonna sit there." And they were like, "Okay." And in there, and there was a room with yellow curtains and yellow cushions, and I sat down. And as I sat down, my granny, who'd been gone for 2 years, was sat right in front of me, clear as day, and just went, "Oh, hi, Gran." And she went, "I just came down to tell you it's all going to be worth it. Just keep going, my love." And I was like, "Cool. Am I going to see you again?" She goes, "No, for a long time, but I'm always here. I got to go." And boop, she was gone. And I know it makes me sound completely crazy, but and I appreciate that it makes me sound completely crazy. But to me, it was just like the curtain was just pulled back for a moment.
Well, just on that note, do you believe, like in your gut instinct, in your heart of hearts now, as you look back, that that potentially was like a visit from the other side, or do you believe that that was your imagination playing tricks with you? I'm just interested. I'm intrigued.
I 1000% believe it was my granny came down because afterwards, when she left, oh my god, people are gonna think I'm so mad, but that's all right.
No,
I
okay. Just so you don't sound too crazy, I'll share a story in a second that I've never told anybody either. Okay, done.
okay, grand. And in that moment when she left, I felt the only way I can describe it was I felt absolute pure, unfettered joy. And it was like nothing else I'd ever felt before in my life. And it was really lovely. And when I need it, I go back to that feeling and it makes me feel less scared.
But that's a beautiful thing to be able to do, to go back to that feeling. And
Yeah.
uh, and as a hypnotherapist, I actually know how to anchor and trigger those feelings. That's a whole other conversation. But here's one that I'll share. So I remember my grandfather on my mum's side. So my mum's dad, he was in hospital. He'd been in hospital for a couple of weeks. And I remember I was at home. I was fast asleep, just in this like really, really deep sleep. And I woke up. And when I woke up, I was like when I woke up, I was actually bawling, crying. So I'd obviously been crying in my sleep, which has never happened to me before, never happened to me
Oh,
since, right? And I was bawling, crying, and I just sat up in the bed and I went, he's dead. And then I just went back to sleep again. And then the next morning, my mum came in and said he passed last night. And I said, well, what time did he? Oh, sorry. First of all, I said, I know. And she was like, what do you mean, you know? I said, I know. And then I said to her, I said, I bet you it happened around 1:16 a.m. And she went, how do you know that? That's the exact time of death on the death certificate. And I went, yeah, well, don't worry about it. I just knew. And she was like, what? And
oh,
and the crazy thing is, because with the work that I do, there's a certain level of a skeptic in me, obviously, because I'm
yeah,
so learned in the art of deception. But when I look back in that, I still go, oof, that's hard to explain. Do you know what I mean? That
yeah,
one there is like really hard, because I've never, ever, ever since or before cried in my sleep, and I cried and woke up at the exact moment that
yeah,
he passed away. So you don't sound
yeah.
crazy, because if you sound crazy, I sound crazy. So it's
Well,
fine. We're all
I
crazy.
believe you. We're all crazy.
And
I love
crazy
it.
is good. So listen, before you go, I've got one more quick brain hack for you. This is just for fun. Do you gamble at all, by the way?
Not really, no.
You play
What?
cards at all for fun?
Yeah, I play cards for fun.
Okay, there's a great game, by the way. You and everybody else, this is a complete side note. Okay, again, I go off on tangents in this series. Shithead. Just Google it. There's a game called Shithead, and it's absolutely amazing.
Hang on, I think I've played that, but does it have another name?
Oh yeah, it has a couple of names. I just know it as Shithead. And the kids who are 12 and 9, they love saying, Dad, we're going playing Shithead. And that's the only time they're allowed curse at the moment. It's like Shithead.
I love it.
They love it.
Okay, all right, I'll
So
look it up.
So I've got a deck of cards here. It's got a big black X on it. Now, I only put the black X on it because we're doing this virtually. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother with the black X. So you'll understand what I mean in a moment.
Yeah,
I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes. And imagine that you're on a boat or a ship. And imagine you've got a deck of cards in your hand. And imagine that somebody bumps into you and the deck of cards flies overboard. And you see all of the deck of cards and they land in the water. But they all land face up mysteriously. But one card in the
okay,
middle lands face down. Imagine you can see a face down card, but you don't know what it is because it's face down. So you decide to
okay,
dive overboard. You go under the water, you hold your breath, you look backwards and up, and you now see what that one playing card is. And when you've seen
okay.
it, just open your eyes. Okay, good. What card did you see?
Seven of spades.
Seven of spades. The big black X is here because we're doing this virtually. Because also, look, I destroyed a deck of cards just for this little experiment. See, I put a big black X through all of
Yeah,
the cards. Each and every card has a big black X going through it, except you can see one card reversed. But the rest of them really do have a big black X going through them. Like they're destroyed. I can't use them for anything. I only saved one card and one card only. And Vico, it's the seven of spades.
oh my, what is happening? Oh, that's mad. Mad. Hang on. Is my brain not easily accessible? I didn't know there was enough brain in there to be able to pop in and like forage around in it.
There's
That's
plenty of brain in
amazing.
there. We'll have to have you back sometime, by the way, to tell us about your writing, because I didn't know that you actually write as well. So this is amazing. I want to have you back and talk down the line about some of the writing that you do as well, yeah?
That's so crazy. I can't wait to go and tell my kids what's just happened. That's so fun.
Well,
Yes,
listen,
but yes, I'll come back anytime.
where can people follow you? Give me your social handles so people can go follow you on your socials.
It's really, really complicated. It's Victoria Smurfit. And
There
just
you go.
stick to the ones with the blue ticks. Anything without the blue ticks is not me.
Instagram, is that the best place to follow you? I follow you there.
Yeah, yeah. Instagram, Twitter, that's about all. I never deal with Facebook. Don't bother sending me a message. I won't read it.
Perfect. Victoria Smurfit. I'm going to call you Vico from now on in. It's a pleasure. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Kiko.